Ah yes, my mini split package unit is doing well. Zone 2 looks fine as well. Summer is in full effect now, as you guys can see from my mini split package units out there. It's been 90 degrees for a couple of days, so I know everybody's into the no cooling calls pretty thick already, I'm sure. In this video, I'm going to discuss something which has always bothered me. It's the fact that the government, although they seem to be looking out for environmental concerns and all sorts of upstanding ideals, they're not really looking out for technicians, and they never will.
If your business sells IAQ products, you need to find out more about this great program from Jackson Systems and Supply. Modern HVAC and IAQ companies offer a lot of IAQ products, including UV lights, media filters, and much more. With the new AirLink program, Jackson Systems gives the contractors a chance to make money while taking the strain off of the contractor. With so many different types of air cleaners, filtration, and UV lights out there, it's hard for a contractor to remember which one goes where and when it's time to change it. First things first, you have to sign up with Jackson Systems to be an AirLink partner. Use the link on the screen or the one you see in the description. Next, you're going to work with the Jackson Systems guys to figure out what you want to sell, how you want to sell it, figure out what you need to sell it for. They're there to help you make sure you're making money, even though they're putting in the legwork. Next, you're going to do your installations like you always have done and show your customers how to scan the QR code and reorder their products. And then find yourself a nice beach or a yacht to sit on, because you can sit back and relax, and Jackson Systems will do the rest.
Now, I could tell these stories till I'm blue in the face, how the government doesn't care anything about the guys in the field, and they never have. They don't make regulations to increase our safety, increase the enjoyment of our job. They make regulations for one purpose, and that is to appear like they care about something, whether that be the environment, whether that be humanity in general. It always is a facade for what is really in effect, which is corporations and other large entities that, without being too conspiratorial, basically control this whole existence of the government. Now, I think of a story, and I hope I don't lose you guys on this one, because this is something we all go through, and I think we ought not kid ourselves about the reality of our situation. A lot of guys say, bring back R22, 410A. Why do we continue changing things and moving things forward? Well, the facade is that it's going to help the environment. But I have a concern over that. I recently watched a documentary about a ferry in South Korea, and I remember the story from several years ago. This particular ferry sank. It wasn't the fact that the ferry just sank, it's the fact that the government's control, the administrative bureaucracy, and the red tape caused so much more damage to human life than it needed to be. And it made me think about government. See, let me tell you this story real quick, and then I'll circle back to where we talk about our trade. But this encapsulates it so well. Now, this ferry started to sink en route to somewhere. South Korea. It was running somewhere. I can't tell you exactly where. I know that the ferry was called SCWOL, I believe, Seawall. I'm going to call it Sewol. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. But the ferry started to sink. And the administration on the boat, the captain or somebody up high, said to just remain where you are. That was their guideline there. Just remain where you are. Don't try to jump off the boat. Don't try to do anything like that. And the government, because this particular documentary was playing conversations from their equivalent of the Coast Guard, back to the administration, to the president of the country. They were all basically batting back and forth that everything was fine. It was a real facade. They were trying to pretend like everything was okay. Which is funny, because I recently watched Chernobyl, and it's a lot of the same thing. People hiding the fact that something is very wrong. Well, as it turned out, this ferry sunk, capsized, and finished sinking over a 24-hour period. And the loss of life was in the hundreds, mostly students on board, because they were adhering to the principles that they were told to stay in place, to not jump off the boat. And because of this, many of them lost their life. And even after the accident, these civilian divers were going in here on the South Korean ferry to try to explore the wreckage and figure out, get bodies out, just so people would have peace of mind, so people would have closure. And eventually they told the civilian divers to leave. But during this process, before the ferry had sunk, They were trying to pump air into the ferry to keep it afloat because it was capsized. So basically they were thinking that people could be trapped inside and there'd be an air pocket on top. Well, they wanted to look good. So they would take the air hose down underneath and just stick it somewhere. The divers said they weren't doing anything with it. It was just a facade so the government official could see them trying it. In fact, after they tried that, it actually sank the rest of the way relatively quickly. So I don't know if what they did actually sped up the sinking of the ferry, but it definitely didn't help. And this makes me think about government and brings me back to where we are. Not to equate the situations verbatim, but just to say that government does not look out for us. I think we're fooling ourselves to think the government is doing anything for our safety as technicians, or even the principles which they are espousing. Let's save the environment. Let's be environmentally friendly. I don't even think it's about that. Because if you think about it, let's think about the refrigerants that we use. And this is just a critical thinking exercise, guys. I don't think you'll get paid any more for listening to this video or learn anything about a technical ability that you didn't already know, but just critical thinking and a discussion between us and the trade. R22 ran at pressures that might look on a summer's day like today be, let's say 220 over 75. That's nothing scientific, it's just a pressure that we would accept as normal looking at an R22 system on a warm day. But what about an R410A system? It would be well over 100 on the suction side, somewhere 120, 125. Maybe the high side will be in the mid-upper 300s. The pressure is so much higher. So right off the bat, we're switching to refrigerants that operate at a much higher pressure in comparison with atmosphere. So the assumption would be made that if they were to leak, no matter how dangerous they are, they would leak at a more rapid rate now than they would have in the past. That's going back to R22, then back before that to R12. Now I understand that the ozone layer must be preserved, but in essence, leaking is the problem. If a refrigerant is added and removed properly, it's never an issue no matter what refrigerant it is. But it's the leaking that causes a problem. So if we're thinking about leaking now, we'll think about GWP, global warming potential. That's something a lot of people keep track of. For R410A, the global warming potential is higher than R22, which is an odd thing, isn't it? Now, subsequent refrigerants like R32, R454B, they're going to be lower. But still, now we're getting to flammability. Now they're flammable. Just take that at face value. In order to progress farther, we have to start using refrigerants that are slightly flammable. Now that doesn't mean they're going to explode like propane, but still, there's a flammability higher than what we were using. It's higher pressure, higher flammability, and this is better. It seems odd. A lot of these refrigerants are highly flammable, but I do like the fact that some of them are natural refrigerants. That's a good thing. But they're highly flammable. I don't know if you guys think much about this stuff, but it just kind of boggles my mind that we accept this as just progress toward the future when some of the things seem very odd to me. Now, maybe you look at it and say, nah, this is just what we have to do to be safer for the environment. I get that. But some of it seems kind of strange. The higher pressures, flammability, we're moving in a direction that is less safe for technicians, relatively. That doesn't mean we're going to be exploding everywhere, but it does mean that you do have to take extra precautions now. You have to be a lot more tentative. And all of our side job Bobby might have a tougher time now. I don't want him to get all blowed up. Side job Bobby he can be fun at the supply house when he rides in with a truck with the wooden sideboards on it. I like side job Bobby. I've been him a few times. Don't want to say too much though. What do you guys think about this? Put it in the comments. And I think in the next day or so, we're going to be giving away that Yellow Jacket wireless anemometer, so make sure you comment on every video this month. Put a like down, subscribe if you haven't already. I want to know your thoughts. Like I said, this isn't some huge technical video. This isn't something that you even would ever have to consider to have a successful career, but I like to think about these things and I kind of wonder about these things. I know at least some of you do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one for the giveaway. And God bless each and every one of you. I just love you guys.
Save 8% off your order at TruTechTools.com by using the Shop Talk discount code.